drove me crazy. What does that mean? I'm working on a screenplay. The head of the production company came back and said, Victoria, in this scene, make it more organic. Well, to me, organic is stuff you grow out of the ground. It's like broccoli, okay?
Without artificial chemicals.
Without artificial chemicals.
Just good old horse dung.
But what I began to understand was that I could apply screenwriting to what I teach my students. I just never use that expression. The difference between, she walked into the room and I noticed her startling blue eyes as opposed to she walked into the room and her eyes reminded me of the Mediterranean. It's,
Right.
or, you know, Anna's talking about dialogue, people talking to each other. We move when we talk. We shift. We look away. He said this, she said that. I know he said, but you don't, she said. That's not the way we are. I know the truth, he said. She looked away. She looked away, why? Maybe she was afraid that he really did know the truth. Or perhaps she felt something going on. If it was from her viewpoint, she felt her stomach churn. Maybe she was about to be found out. A mother talking to a child, and the child saying, I'm so worried, I'm so scared to go to school. Honey, I know you're scared. Oh, stand up straight, by the way. I know you're scared. It's how we are when we have real conversations as opposed to stilted conversations that we often write in the dialogue that we create that might move the story forward, but not in a very interesting way. And the most important thing that I try to teach my students is when you write a sentence, you're always writing that sentence to prepare the reader for the next one and for the next one. Everything is a setup for what happens. A paragraph is for the next. A chapter is for the next. It's that continuity, that fluidity of how your stories flow that makes a difference. And I know that a lot of people hate this idea, but I tell my authors this over and over again, and my students, I try to beat it into their heads. And every once in a while somebody will say, I tried it and you were right. Take a page, read it out loud. You'll hear where you repeated yourself. You'll hear where you catch yourself, where it's jerky, where the flow needs to be changed, where you forgot a comma, and that lack of comma changes the entire meaning of the sentence. And people say, I don't know how to...
Shoots and leaves.
Yes, I don't know how to use a comma. I said, if you read out loud, the commas will tell you where they belong.
Yeah.
Oh, she said, I wish I had known, but... So you say, oh, I feel like Victor Borgen. And thank you for laughing, who's being old enough to know who he is, and those who didn't laugh, you can leave. And I'm not going to make the sounds, but I remember as a child, my father being on the floor laughing as he did that, and I thought, is he really that clever? Of course he was. But reading out loud, you can hear the flow. You can hear how it sounds in the head of the reader who's reading. And you will catch so many ways of doing
Totally
things.
second that. Two things that you will also catch will be unintentional rhymes, because they look different on the page, because they're spelled differently, but they rhyme, and unintentional rhythm, de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum, de-dum-de-dum-de-dum, de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. It sounds ridiculous, but not until you read it aloud.
That's right.
And the other thing is, yes, you're full of setups, but remember, any real setup's going to have a payoff. You don't